Sometimes when I get bored, I make opinionated content, and since K-pop fans mentally can't handle opinions they do not agree with, the making of my content plus the response from K-pop fans fill this boredom. So for my first YouTube video, I decided to address NewJeans' ongoing situation and how bunnies are using it to be stupid, and since it migrated its questionable mental stability from TikTok to K-tube, let's start with the infamously unsettling Taly Tokki.
Serious problem on this platform. It's really bad. And I think a lot of this is rooted in misogyny. I really do think that's what it really comes down to.
Yes, misogyny exists. Yes, K-pop fans are misogynistic, but misogyny is not a card that girl group fans can pull out of their ass anytime a woman is in a scandal and then expect everyone else to fall in line with it, because the dislike or distrust of women is not always rooted in the prejudice against them. Women are people. A lot of people simply aren't trustworthy, and NewJeans' loyalty to men he gen makes them so. If they have actual legitimate evidence against Hybe, I'll take it on the chin and eat my words. I have no problem doing that, but at no point in time during this whole process has anyone in this situation been worthy of my trust. They are just as rich and just as ambitious, only difference is they have a herd of fans willing to jump off a cliff if they commanded it. Men he gen, NewJeans, and their parents are just as shady as any K-pop company CEO. And that's got nothing to do with their gender identity and everything to do with their words, attitude, and actions, and how that implicates everyone else around them. And I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, as I've watched people, especially bunnies recently, spread lies about Les Seraphim, including Yoonchae, crediting their success to doing sexual favors for Bang PD as well as spreading lies about BTS preying on women, just to counteract Men he gen's long personal history of sexualizing the groups she's worked with including NewJeans, as well as her ongoing legal battle with an ex-employee she bullied after they got sexually assaulted under her jurisdiction. This whole thing does not boil down to misogyny. It boils down to greed. And greed has no gender. If the exact same situation, in the very exact same way, was happening to Enhypen with Bang PD, I'm talking about giving shamans hundreds of thousands of dollars, sexualizing, grooming, tampering, bullying, were happening with them in the exact same way. The same amount of infantilization, coddling, and lack of accountability would not be gifted to them, except by a select few of already established shitty engines. Because women are seen as far less threatening, and because of the contrasting reaction to misogyny, people take the crimes women commit far less seriously, and makes people believe men have committed crimes even without any proof that they actually did. Saying a group of men would have the K-pop community's support after being accused of perversion and greed is laughable. You ain't gotta lie, Craig. Most people would not believe a man wouldn't do greedy, pervy shit.
A lot of people have been telling me so much about how bad it is on YouTube with NewJeans and all the misinformation that's being spread on this platform. And I never really thought that it was actually that bad until last night. I literally stayed up till 6 a.m. going through all these YouTube videos. And
it is always alarming, but never actually surprising how openly obsessive bunnies are.
People on this platform are getting too comfortable with spreading misinformation. You guys just make stuff up like it's some sort of fan fiction, and then you put it on this platform knowing everyone will believe you. Why? Because everyone is on the same page that they do not like NewJeans for whatever reason. Again,
misogyny.
The hypocrisy of this fandom is what makes picking them apart so easy. No joke, any video I have ever seen of this thing talking was a dead-ass lie, it said in full confidence.
So let's set the record straight for 3 things related to NewJeans that I think needs to be clarified, because a lot of you guys just don't understand it. You can't wrap your head around it. I don't know what's going on. Minji, Hani, Danny, Head, and Hain are independent artists. Minji, Hani, Danny, Head, and Hain lawfully terminated their exclusive contract with Adore on November 29th after Adore failed to meet NewJeans' demand of corrections that they stated in their certified letter. The members cited their exclusive contract that states, according to paragraph 15, paragraph 1 of the exclusive contract, if Adore violates the terms of exclusive contract, NewJeans may request correction with a 14-day grace period, and if the violations are not corrected within this period, they may terminate or cancel the contract. So what does that mean? If the members believe Adore breached their contract, they're allowed to demand for corrections, and if Adore fails to meet NewJeans' demands in 14 days, NewJeans are allowed to legally terminate their exclusive contract and walk away from Adore. And that is exactly what happened. It's that simple.
Sigh, I'll never know what it's like to be a proud incompetent. See, this is where the NewJeans are spoiled and entitled narrative derives. Bunnies like Taly are saying, if NewJeans make demands and a door doesn't cater to them, then they can just up and exit their contract.
They're allowed to demand for corrections, and if a door fails to meet NewJeans' demands in 14 days, NewJeans are allowed to legally terminate their exclusive contract and walk away from a door.
And they believe this because NewJeans are leading them on as if they're independent artists by trying to get independent brand deals, opening unauthorized social media accounts, performing songs owned by Adore while not using the name NewJeans, and holding a contest for a new name. And this is where the manipulation of fan support comes into play. Which, if they got paid for these unauthorized appearances and didn't give Adore their portion of the earnings, not only can NewJeans be sued and fined, they can even be jailed for fraud. Literally, not figuratively, stealing. And wouldn't that be ironic? NewJeans and or men he Jen going to jail for fraud when by men's perspective, backed by NewJeans' support, this whole thing started over an unoriginal concept theft. While bunnies may be stupid, I don't think NewJeans are. If they quoted it correctly, their contracts clearly state that if Adore violates their contracts and if those violations aren't rectified upon request, then NewJeans can leave. Adore's violations don't exist just because NewJeans said they do. The violations have to be proven as legitimate. And Adore certainly doesn't have to cater to NewJeans' demands just because they make them. That's why this idea bunnies have, that NewJeans don't have to see a day in court over their contracts, is dumb as shit, and I can't believe anyone really thinks they can get out of a legally binding contract without disputing it in court.
And a lot of you guys are mad for the wrong reasons. Most of you are mad about the way NewJeans left Adore.
Actually, being bothered by the way NewJeans are handling their situation is completely justified. Why? Because they're young, women, old enough to be held responsible for the things that they do and say, and responsible for the consequences and inevitable outcomes that come with that. Every action has a reaction. As I'm sure they're aware of, idols go through extensive media training, even though ones who seem like they have not. And whether bunnies want to admit it or not, everything they're doing and saying causes negative backlash on innocent groups at Hybe. Innocent people, some even younger than they are, and you can't convince someone like me that men he Jen and NewJeans were unaware of the backlash their label mates would get by this situation, unaware of the hate others would receive for them on their behalf. As if bunnies haven't been attacking literally every other group under the sun since the success of their first comeback. Just for perspective, knowing how Blinks can be, this is like Blackpink's individual management publicly accusing Meow or Baby Monster of copying off them and leeching off them, while Blackpink stands by their management's side the whole time, and while Meow and Baby Monster get brutalized online. Blackpink are claiming that they're just trying to protect people. No, idols aren't responsible for the things their fandoms do, but if their fandoms are burning down buildings, they are responsible for handing them the matches to do it. If their fandoms are attacking people online for them, they're responsible for giving them ammunition to do it. No matter who was in this mess, you mean to tell me they're big and bold enough to call their parent company inhumane, but can't tell their own supporters not to attack people on their behalf? If it was simply about justice and righting wrongs, and not all about the fame, glory, money, and power, if this was really about making the world aware that Hybe is this big bad ultimate evil plotting to take our souls, the smart way to go about this, the conclusion all of them are way too old to have not come to themselves, would have been to quietly take Hybe to court before Les Seraphim and especially Illit even debuted. Present their supposed concrete evidence of Hybe mistreating them in a way that men he Jen couldn't stop, then after they win their case and are actually independent, then they go to the press to shed light on the whole situation. This way there would have been no room for speculation of their motives or their character. Having the court already decided in their favor, no one would question them on the legitimacy of their supposed mistreatment, and if they're in the right, and are actually trying to protect their seniors and juniors like they claim, having a quiet legal battle would have kept their label mates from being dragged through the mud. NewJeans and men he Jen could have had their freedom and reputation in mint condition as well as not harmfully implicating other people. But no, they wanted the spectacle, they want to put on a show, they want to cause drama and online discourse, and they're willing to do that at other people's expense. That's the whole point in them doing, ultimately, unnecessary press conferences and making public statement after public statement that could not possibly help them in court. Did Wonyoung need to do a whole woe as me exhibit about how Sojong was spreading malicious rumors about her online? That's why she sued them for it? Did GOT7 or V-Cha throw pity parties for themselves on live for the world to watch because JYP mistreated them? No. Why? Because victims do not need a show. All they need is evidence, and if NewJeans have it like they claim, none of what has happened so far was necessary. None of it.
The fact that Adore never met any of NewJeans' demands. Like, the demands were very straightforward, yet NewJeans are the problem?
Again, Adore is not obligated to cater their demands, but let's go over a few. In the internal documents shown at the National Assembly, there was an accumulation of comments made by K-pop fans online as well as the opinions of HYBE staff with no indication between which comments came from who. One standout comment alluded to getting rid of something called new and starting fresh. NewJeans and Bunnies have deduced that this comment is proof that HYBE was trying to get rid of NewJeans to start again somewhere else. Their demand was for Adore to take all necessary measures regarding HYBE's decision to do this. That's not going to work because whether Bunnies want to admit it or not, that comment is so ambiguous it is left for interpretation. It could be a comment from powerful HYBE staff out to get the group, or it could be from some bunny claiming for the millionth time how some random unsuspecting group is trying to take from NewJeans again. Their demand is also ambiguous. What do they mean take all necessary measures regarding the comment? Do they mean they want a HYBE official to apologize for making the comment if they're the ones that did? Or do they want that person fired? And say the comment did come from a bunny or lowly HYBE employee, what, they're deserving of some kind of reprimand because of it? It's also not going to work because there's no proof that the comment came directly from HYBE. And while I believe that company is full of business half-wits, I also believe they're not dumb enough to leave their own admissions of sabotaging one of their most successful groups in a random collection of comments made online. Their next demand was for Adore to address the issue of ILIT's manager telling them to ignore Hani. Do I really need to explain why this demand is insane? Firstly, this quote-unquote issue is alleged because there's no proof of it even actually occurring due to the legal amount of time security footage is allowed to exist before being deleted. The statement that Adore has taken no action and neglected this issue is false, because Hani herself admitted on live that Kim Joo-young, the CEO of only a few days, told her that there was nothing she could do about it. There was no footage of the incident. This is literally what made NewJeans paint the recently appointed CEO out to be uncaring, weak, and just an overall bitch. Not being able to do anything about a situation and neglecting a situation literally aren't the same things. What are they expecting? Kim Joo-young to fist fight ILIT's manager? If, in NewJeans' opinion, Kim Joo-young not being able to do anything about a situation that happened months before she was CEO and has no evidence to work with, equates to neglect. What do they call them for not addressing their fans, literally subjecting their label mates to bullying and harassment, even going as far as dressing up as Min Hee-jen at events Les Seraphim are attending? If it was such a horrific incident for her, why didn't they bring it up months beforehand when the situation actually happened while Min Hee-jen was still CEO? Min Hee-jen, who they're comparing to Kim Joo-young and swearing up and down, would have defended them. I've seen comments of bunnies saying it takes a while for people to speak up about trauma, that's why she didn't say anything. What fucking trauma? Hani believes she heard ILIT's manager tell them to ignore her while walking past in a hallway. She wasn't stabbed and kidnapped. Secondly, Hani struggles to understand Korean. Even while being spoken to directly at the National Assembly, she struggled to understand, so the chances that she misheard or misunderstood what the manager said is very, very high. The Korean language is set up to where a lot of words, if not pronounced or heard in a very specific way, can mean multiple things. That manager could have been telling ILIT to not speak too loudly or to hurry along their way. And that goes into the third thing. NewJeans are not allowed to call for witch hunts on people just because their feelings got hurt. In the instance that ILIT's manager did say for them to ignore her, by that time their individual management teams were already at odds, beefing. If ILIT's team made the judgment call for them not to associate, then it is what it is, it's business. Which, I might add, since Min Hee-jen is so transparent and tells them everything like they've said she is, Hani likely knew their teams were at odds when she walked by in the hallway. It sucks, sure, but NewJeans are not at all owed an apology for other people acting in their group's best interest. If they're owed an apology for that, then every group at HYBE deserves an apology from their mommy dearest. What if someone looks at them funny? Do they expect Kim Joo-young to judo chop them or make them beg for forgiveness? Is that what Min Hee-jen did to gain their trust? Bully people they may not get along with or feel threatened by? I can believe it seeing how Min Hee-jen bullied a sexual harassment victim for some man she works with. And let me make it abundantly clear, the man I'm talking about was Min Hee-jen's vice president at Adore. It was actually his text messages that got leaked of the 1945 plan, the plan to take Adore from HYBE. Vice President Lee admitted to HYBE that Min Hee-jen promised him 0.3% of Adore's shares, which is the equivalent of 3 billion won and 2 million USD. Min Hee-jen's vice president and partner in crime sexually harassed a lower Adore staff. Korea is already a place with infamously lenient sex-based crime rulings. VP Lee was originally found not guilty because Min Hee-jen presented an 18-page letter calling the victim a problematic employee. And because of that, this employee is having a reinvestigation done on Vice President Lee and is suing Min Hee-jen for her part to play. But all they've asked for of Min Hee-jen, in court, was for an apology. Not money. Just an apology. The next demand was for Adore to take action regarding Hybe PR's disparagement of NewJeans' success in Japan. Again, this demand is ambiguous. What do they mean by take action? Do they want an apology or do they want someone's job? This isn't going to work mainly because Hybe has already addressed the issue, denying what they're being accused of. What do they expect Kim Joo-young to do? Despite Hybe being cleared by the Ministry of Employment and Labor of all accusations of misconduct and maintaining their certificate of excellence back in December, there's no proof of disparaging comments being made about NewJeans by this PR member. What happened was reporter Jang Hyung-woo wrote an article where they stated NewJeans' global sales as the sales that happened in Japan. This makes it look like Hybe is augmenting NewJeans' worth to investors and is called inflation and is illegal. So Hybe called for a correction to be made about the article. The sales made in one small country could not compete with global sales. This is the part of the phone call Jang Hyung-woo leaked.
조성훈입니다.
네네네.
뭐 이렇게, 기사를 쓰셨어, 또.
아, 몰라. 부장이 주가 관련해서 뭐 이래저래 쓰라 해가지고. 쓰라 했을 거지.
근데 이 팩트가 조금 틀린 것들이 있어가지고.
어떤 거 말씀?
이 일본에서 102만 장 팔렸다는 거 있잖아요.
예.
이게 그 전체에서 팔린 건데.
아, 전체 팔린 거.
일본에서 판매가 그렇게 많이 안 돼가지고. 그것도 그렇고, 일본에서 사실은 성적이, 일본 무대 데뷔 성공, 아니, 몰라요. 데뷔를, 잘 하긴 했는데, 좀, 일본 초동이 판매가 이렇게 많이 안 됐어요, 사실은. 그래서 우리가 밖에, 우리가 또 이걸 사실은, 뉴진스가 우리 아티스트이기 때문에 민희진 대표와의 분쟁과 이거 떠나서 뉴진스가 잘 되는 걸 우리가 홍보해야 되는 건 분명히 맞고 한데 이 팩트는 또 우리가 바로 잡아야 되니까
그냥 일본 현지에서를 빼면 되겠네, 기사에서.
일본에서 그렇게 많이 팔린 게 아니어서 생각보다는 좀 못해서 그런 부분은 바로 잡아야 될 것 같고.
While these comments do not qualify as compliments, they do not qualify as disparaging either. So if you spin the story that these comments are made to be demeaning, then, especially for someone who wants to believe NewJeans are victims of Hybe bullying them, they will believe that these comments are inherently degrading and they're not. Explaining that NewJeans sales in Japan didn't do as great as their worldwide sales overall does not belittle or undervalue what they have accomplished. That reporter used NewJeans' name for clicks and it worked. Literally. The headlines were intentional and insidious, geared toward sensationalizing the situation, even when the article shows that Hybe was on the right side to correct incorrect numbers. And this melodramatized retelling goes hand in hand with their next demand. NewJeans wanted what they called the unnecessary dispute with director Shin Woo-suk, the same Shin Woo-suk who signed the petition to keep Men Hee-jen from getting fired, and the same Shin Woo-suk whose colleague exposed of having an adulterous affair with Men Hee-jen. NewJeans' personal director that bunnies regard as NewJeans' father to match Men Hee-jen being their freaky mama, resolved. Which, again, ambiguously worded because again, Hybe has already addressed this situation. What more could Kim Joo-young do? Make Hybe beg for him to work with them again even though he literally said he doesn't want to. Their next demand was for Adore to rectify the unauthorized release of photos and videos from media outlets of NewJeans' pre-debut. And while as reasonable as this demand is, NewJeans do not get to decide what clips of them do and do not get released while working or training. When you sign to an agency, you're okaying your face and image being mass-produced like a product, especially in K-pop. Contractually, Adore does not need their permission for much, which is why this doesn't constitute as a contract violation and very likely wouldn't be substantial enough to end a multi-million-dollar contract. And it is just my personal opinion, since no one actually knows who leaked those pre-debut dance clips, that Adore isn't the one that did. I cannot rationalize, in my mind, what they would gain from doing that. You could deduce that this was fear tactic on Adore's part, but the whole time Adore has been trying to keep them, not scare them away. That's the whole reason they filed an injunction to maintain their relationship. It's not as if those clips incriminate them personally or are defamatory. They're just dance clips and an anticlimactic report on a hurt ankle. And while yes, it was inappropriate for minors to be taking a heels dance class, that's why audiences having a negative reaction to that was understandable, but I can't imagine that NewJeans would be uncomfortable with people seeing those clips, when they're, literally, not worse than Men He Jen having them sing a song alluding to receiving cunnilingus, a song they sing unashamedly by a woman they endorse on t-shirts. I have a theory that NewJeans knew these clips were going to be leaked and Men He Jen is the one who did it off of one of the laptops she's still yet to return to Hybe or the police for investigation, with the hopes of making Hybe look bad. This is not a far-fetched idea and is completely plausible, because even though NewJeans were training at Source Music in those clips, Men He Jen was working with Source Music before a door was even thought of. That's how she met Minji. Men He Jen, more than anyone else, would have access to those videos and records. On top of the fact that NewJeans, their parents, and Men He Jen are being investigated by the Korean Music Content Association for tampering after Dispatch exposed Men He Jen for negative comments she's made about artists in the past, for knowing of NewJeans live before broadcasting, meddling with Hani's appearance at the National Assembly, and for all the members, their parents, and Men He Jen's connection to outside investors at Davo Link through Hyan's uncle, just for a chairman at that company to confirm this happening in one swift go. And their last demand was for Men He Jen to be reinstated as CEO of Adore with all her dictator-like power being restored. They really requested and expected that Kim Joo-young give up her new position for someone accused of leaking the private information of their label mates, implicating Le Sserafim through Kim Garam's false bullying scandal by leaked school records. TXT through Soo Bin's private Instagram while on a secret live with X-Rise member Sunghan, and Illit through the ex-member Youngseo who mysteriously left speculated to have been the girlfriend of Sunghan in those leaked pictures of them embracing that eventually got him kicked out of his group. There's more, but besides all that, Men He Jen, dead, ass quit her job, and they expect Kim Joo-young to just give up her position for some like that.
NewJeans are brainwashed, manipulated, and groomed by Min Hee Jin. Ugh. First, I want to start off by saying, I don't think you guys know what the word grooming means. I guess none of you own a dictionary? Don't know how to access Google? That's crazy. But I do believe a lot of you guys are brainwashed and manipulated, which is why I giggle every single time I see you guys throwing these words around. And no, NewJeans aren't being manipulated, groomed, or brainwashed by Min Hee Jin. Do we not believe that young women can think for themselves? And to all the people who keep saying all the adults around NewJeans fail them. What? If you're a true bunny, you know that the members are very close with their parents. And we've been knowing this way before all the things occurred in April. So questioning the presence of the adults around NewJeans does not make sense.
I'm glad it brought this up so I can go ahead and address this now. Simply doing a quick Google search is a lot of the time not enough to truly understand something. Some words have more than one definition, especially depending on the context in which it's used, and grooming is one of those words. Grooming is not an inherently sexual term, that's just how it's been coined online. It could mean the manipulation of someone to eventually perform a sexual or criminal act. But the word can also have positive connotations that consist of taking care of one's bodily hygiene or for mentoring and coaching another person. 3 different examples of this word being used. 1. In movies or TV shows about mafias or gang violence, have you ever seen where someone takes another person under their wing, like a lost puppy, and builds them up to become a part of the mafia or gang themselves? That is grooming in a criminal sense. And I want to emphasize, for the sake of this video, it's my belief that if you're groomed into performing criminal acts, you are by definition a criminal as well. But that's not something you have to be for the rest of your life, because despite what you've been taught by the people influencing you, you have to decide for yourself whether something is truly good or bad. So this narrative I see a lot on social media that you shouldn't or can't blame someone who's been groomed for their wrongdoings isn't as black and white as people like to make it seem. If people who are groomed into doing wrong, same as people who aren't groomed into doing wrong, are not held accountable for their actions, they do not learn from the mistakes they've made, it just enables them to repeat it. In order for patterns not to repeat and actual growth to happen, people need to take the time to understand why and how they may or may not have been influenced into doing something and what they could have done to save themselves. And then come to terms with the fact that they are capable of causing harm and doing wrong, and how their actions may negatively impact other people's lives. This is empathy. So when it comes to NewJeans' situation, I disagree with the idea that they aren't at fault for the role they're playing. 16 to 20 is being held accountable age. People are saying that the adults have failed NewJeans, and I agree, but stating it this way, and leaving it at that, is taking their vast amounts of autonomy away when NewJeans have done, and can do, more with their lives than the average 25-year-old. So taking their autonomy away is why some bunnies think calling men he gen out for grooming them is the equivalent of calling the members stupid and unable to think for themselves. NewJeans are also failing themselves. This whole you can't blame them rhetoric literally is not going to make them understand why their devotion to men he gen is self-destructive and in my opinion unethical. Second example of grooming, maybe you've experienced this for yourself, but I'm sure you've heard stories about overtime, because the buildup over time is what actually defines grooming, an instance where a significant other, family member, or friend implants into someone's mind the willingness to perform sexual acts, or have sexual acts performed onto them, that may be immoral or against their better judgment. That is grooming in sexual sense, and what people who are chronically online know the term best for. And the third example of grooming, the K-pop trainee system. Vocal coaches, dance teachers and PR trainers are grooming trainees into being the best version of an idol they can be. And this is where the autonomy thing comes into play again. A trainee can be groomed or taught into always giving 100% while dancing, but it is up to them whether they actually do 100%, or just 50%. Trainees can be groomed into never saying a cuss word on live so as to not make their audience uncomfortable, because an idol image does not allow for cussing, but as we all know, since idols have autonomy, if they want to swear like a sailor, they will do just that.
And a lot of you guys say these things to dismiss the fact that Hybe neglected NewJeans heavily. Hani stated this at the National Assembly. Hain talked about this during their emergency YouTube live stream. And Minji even talked about this during their emergency press conference.
Neglect is not one of those words with multiple meanings, it only has one, and the record goes to show that Hybe, as money-hungry as they are, has not neglected NewJeans. Them, their parents, and men he gen keep intentionally blurring the lines on the individual responsibilities between Hybe and Adore, in order to make it seem like more odds were stacked against them than there actually was. NewJeans have literally said Adore and Hybe are one and the same, when, in all actuality they function separately. That's why Hybe could not lawfully fire men he gen. She hadn't done anything that could negatively affect Adore, yet, and this is also why Adore board members were able to take her CEO position away. They have separate abilities as separate entities. From what is apparent, Hybe gives each of their sub-labels exactly what they're owed in order to function. What these individual sub-labels do with the money and resources provided to them by Hybe is what determines how idols are treated. For instance, like with Fromiz 9, Pledis is no longer a poor, only hanging in there because of 17 company anymore due to the stability Hybe has supplied. But Fromiz 9 still ended up being mistreated because Pledis specifically did not care to treat them fairly despite Hybe giving them the resources to do so. And Hybe could not force Pledis to promote Fromiz 9 because that's not in their jurisdiction. Another example of this is how Fromiz 9 was so underworked while groups like Enhypen and TXT are overworked and Lesserafim Seeming has a middle ground between them, is because they all come from completely different sub-labels that just so happen to be under the same conglomerate, and I think this part is what's keeping people from understanding. How are they being neglected by Hybe when they're being given everything they're owed by Hybe and having no record of physical or verbal abuse from Hybe specifically? How were they being neglected by Hybe in a way men he gen could not combat? Because as CEO of Adore, if she felt like Adore and therefore NewJeans weren't being given exactly what Hybe was supposed to be giving them, she could have lawfully sued Hybe for this and defended them like NewJeans claimed she would have. Even while being threatened with being fired and even while being demoted, men he gen did not sue Hybe for any of this neglect or mistreatment NewJeans is talking about. Neglect is plausible, but not only is neglect from a company not so easily hidden. It's just like being with people in the same environment and you can tell who may be rich or may be poor by the way they speak, act, and their outward appearance. The extent of that neglect may vary, but it is also very evident when a K-pop group is being neglected by their company in the exact same way. NewJeans have not stated an actual instance or even given any evidence of them being neglected by Hybe when there's actually a record of them receiving what some people would call preferential treatment. Do I need to give more examples of what I mean besides Hybe letting them have their own personal makeup room in the Hybe building when even their seniors have to share the same one with their juniors? I know a lot of bunnies like to give the credit for this privilege to Adore, but Adore literally couldn't have their own private rooms in the Hybe building without Hybe allowing them to. And you know, NewJeans were making so much money with a safe bet to make even more. Why wouldn't Hybe let them have their own space? They're telling stories about how their feelings have been hurt, not actual instances of neglect.
Jeans for Free, Minji, Hani, Danny, Hetty, and Haynes' independent Instagram account hit 1 million followers in just 6 hours. Everyone and their mothers follow that account, including team members from Celine, Dior, Chanel, Louis Vuitton. And these are notable people in the industry. Also, quick side note, if NewJeans were actually in the wrong and Adore was actually in the right, none of these brands would be siding with NewJeans at all, nor following them on Jeans for Free. So, Just remember that.
This is literally so stupid. Companies, especially multi-billion-dollar ones, do not give a single damn about who's right and wrong. Their only interest in NewJeans is to use their names to make money, and their interest in them is the same. That's the sole motivation for brand ambassadorships. The extent of their relationship with these brands is based on money, not on morality or ethics. How dumb and delusional do you have to be in order to claim that some of the most money-hungry, racist and capitalistic brands would not follow NewJeans on social media if they were in the wrong? Not only do brands as a collective not care about that, but the social media managers behind those brands' social media accounts could very well be bunnies just like anyone can. If, and very likely when, NewJeans are told they can't legally leave Hybe without being fined, or they are able to leave but are unable to gain the same traction and reliability that they did as NewJeans with Hybe, those partnerships will be gone.
And you could keep crying about NewJeans' exclusive contract, Min Heejin and her manipulative, grooming, brainwashing ways, and how NewJeans' careers are being ruined. But at the end of the day, NewJeans are still on top, and Hybe's downfall is very near. And I think that's what's getting you guys pressed. Y'all are a bunch of company stans.